You're listening to the Beat Motel Zine podcast, and we need to warn you that we use words like shit, bollocks, scrotics, anarcho-syndicalist, and cunt, and we don't normally beat those words out, apart from the word cunt, because we're not total animals. Now, we know as well as you that your children can hear these words on any street in Britain, possibly any street anywhere in the world, but we also appreciate that you may not want to invite these words into your home if you have children or sensitive pets nearby whilst listening to this podcast. So listener discretion is advised. That being said, if your children aren't allergic to hearing words like fuck, shit, buttocks or hind penis, they might learn something from listening to this podcast, although probably not, because the quality of our educational content is quite poor. So there you go, fuckers, buckle in and let's get started. I'm still far too amused at myself for that disclaimer. Hey,
do we have educational any educational material at all?
Not that I'm aware of, and I need to hoist the flag before we start because we're on YouTube as well now, so I need to get the our little sign up. New one is arriving at some point.
Hoist the Jolly Roger.
I'm not doing a very good job of obscuring what's behind me, but it doesn't really matter. I'm fine with that. Right, so yes. This episode, Sam, this is Dr. Patio Rage, Dr. Sam, Dr. whatever, Doctor of Love, Dr. Napalm. Today with your napalm
duck, not napalm death. Napalm duck.
With your napalm duck t-shirt on.
Napalm duck.
That's a thing of beauty. And my name is Andrew Culture. Now we have a letters episode. This is a bonus episode, and pretty much since we started Beat Motel podcast, which was 7 months ago, back in March 2023.
Really,
we've been asking people to contact us. And have they fuck? We've had a few that if you're listening to this and want to kind of make good on that, the email address is beatmotel@lawsy.com. It's on most of the recent episodes, and we're up to nearly episode 40 now. And we've had a few things that we've used as letters, and Jay from Jay, aka Italian Books, aka the man who shouts effects pedals at gigs. That's not quite his act, but it's a part of it. Right. He contacted us. Sorry, I lost my thread then. That doesn't bode well this early in the episode, does it? So anyway, we need letters. I want people to contact us. So I thought, well, what can we do in the meantime? So what I've done is...
Do we need to set up a P.O. box?
God, P.O. box, like proper old zine world. I started loads of mail art where I bought these books, and I wrote on the first page of the book, my name's Andrew, please write something on the next page and then post it onto someone who you'll think will keep the chain going. And at the end of the book, which had about 200 pages, it had my P.O. box. About 3 months later, I cancelled my P.O. box, thinking, well, I don't need that anymore. It's like, oh God, what a fucking idiot. Anyway, going off track here, I'm going to send you a picture over WhatsApp, Sam, because I want to get your reaction to the picture before we proceed. And listeners, by the time you're listening to this picture will be the episode image.
Curious.
Right, his name.
That's a real person.
His name is Ruddiger, or Ruddiger, if you want to pronounce it the American way. His surname is Broomhilder. Ruddiger Broomhilder.
Well, better than Randy.
Because Randy Broomhilder. Now, because nobody has sent in any letters or emailed us at beatmotel@lawsy.com, I have carefully sculpted an AI persona. And this AI persona is called Broomhilder Ruddiger.
Broomhilder Ruddiger.
So this is the image. I told Broomhilder to... Ruddiger to just describe himself.
Is this your AI? Is this your AI lover?
My AI lover. No, but I think the picture is actually quite remarkable. I'm a little freaked out, if I'm honest, because in a record shop, they absolutely look like real record covers. And I mean, he does look like I don't want to be unkind to anyone, but he looks like the sort of people I saw at gigs where he used to live in London, around Hoxton, Shoreditch, those kind of places.
Trying a bit hard, I would say. Trying a bit hard.
Especially with the curly moustache. And
yes.
It's quite an amazing thing. So he what happens at the end of the last couple of episodes, I say I've built this persona, and I've sculpted it in some ways, and at the end of the last couple of episodes, I've uploaded the transcript and asked Ruddiger to write us an email. So Ruddiger has written us 2 emails.
This is very meta.
I'm slightly freaked out. If I'm honest, we use AI all the time for work stuff, and I just thought, why don't I use it for something stupid? I'm sure a lot of people are using AI for stupid things.
Yeah. Oh God, I've never used it for anything else.
Right. So the first letter or email is about the banned biographies episode. So banned books, which was a couple of episodes ago. And I'm going to rattle through the whole thing just so you get a flavour for the whole email, and then we'll break it down and answer the questions in it. Okay. I'm trying to decide whether to do an accent. What sort of accent do you think Ruddiger would have? Probably quite posh, Southern England, much like me.
Yeah, but maybe. Oh, he just looks like such a wanker.
I've created an AI wanker. Right, let me read the emails. Subject: an ode to the raging patio and cardboard aesthetics. Dear Andrew and Dr. Patio Rage, the melodious sounds of insightful banter and cardboard aesthetics have once again graced my ears. I, Ruddiger Broomhilder, your unapologetically nosy listener, have a few curiosities after feasting my auditory senses upon your latest episodic masterpiece.
Oh God!
No, don't. I've got to download this and now bleep that out.
I'm sorry.
I told I trained the AI to write in the style of someone who thinks he's really clever but might not be. Which is why it's so like unbelievably like what we call purple prose or just wanker text. Right, so that's the intro. It then goes on. Dr. Patio Rage, a name for the ages. What enchanting tale lies behind the inception of the name Dr. Patio Rage? Is there a dramatic backstory involving an upset barbecue or a rebellious garden gnome, perhaps? Next question. Cardboard chic. Andrew, the cardboard sign is the cardboard sign is undoubtedly. Actually, let's just pick these. I can't read the whole bloody thing. Let's pick this apart one by one. So, Dr. Patio Rage, with your name for the ages, is what enchanting tale lies behind your name?
It's what's it called? An amalgamation of my my last name and my wife's name. I do genuinely have a PhD.
Yeah, no, he really does.
I
do not.
It's not beyond you. It's more about time than anything, I would say. And what's the other aspect? Oh yeah, and it just amused me, and I think we sent invites to people for our wedding under the Patio Rages.
See, I thought I'd come up with Patio Rage, but no, if it's part of your wedding, then I probably didn't.
No, it was and it just amused us, and I think my wife would rather the joke's been done now.
Rather it just curled its toes up and died and
move on,
just fucked off now.
She sort of go, let's go on to another thing. Let's move on. Whereas I still find it amusing. So
you're keeping it inflated. It's like giving mouth to mouth to I don't know, a herring. Right, question number 2 then. Cardboard chic. Andrew, the cardboard sign is undoubtedly a marvel of DIY aesthetics, but have you considered embracing it as a permanent staple of Beat Motel's visual identity? Perhaps fans, like myself, might even submit their own cardboard creations to adorn the studio. Now, first of all, no, because there is a proper sign coming, and there is a good reason for there being a sign. It's because I've got my company my company sign behind me on the wall, and you don't need to see that in podcasts, but I do like the idea of people sending in their own cardboard decorations for the studio.
We're going very surrealist, very meta. First, we're answering questions by a AI creation that we both regard as a wanker. who could be
I can
who
make him
could
worse as
be
we go on.
who could be our only listener.
Oh man!
And then you're asking him basically to send in cardboard
Well, it would have to be the
models.
AI doing it, and as of this morning, he can now generate images, which is slightly terrifying. Because I asked him to generate that image. Basically, what do you look like? Tell me where you are and what you look like, and it made that. But yeah, we're probably on a hiding to nothing, expecting actual humans to contact us, considering we can't even fucking emails. Oh no, this isn't putting people off. Actually, we're very nice. If we might be being mean to Ruddiger Broomhilder, but
Yeah. There's certainly a stretch between sort of being nasty about people and being nasty about an AI, and I'm not yet convinced that the AI has real feelings.
Oh God, of course not at all. Don't. It makes me feel slightly sick to even suggest they might. In fact, some of the training I've been doing recently is like
This
saying,
is how
"Remember,"
Blade Runner starts.
it's just
This
saying,
is how
"Remember,
Blade Runner starts.
it's not a person. It's just an algorithm." But I still don't like being rude to AI. Like even like Alexa and stuff. I've told Alexa to fuck off a few times, but I then feel really guilty about it. Just in case there is a robot uprising, I want to be the one that they look and go, no, he was nice to Alexa. I mean, Siri's a twat who never does anything. But have you got Cortana on your Surface?
What do you mean Cortana?
It's a Microsoft version of Siri called
Oh no,
Cortana.
I don't. I refuse to engage in any of that stuff whatsoever. I get freaked out by the reports that they are sort of the microphones constantly on, and I, I don't know. I'm old fashioned. I had a friend who used to do it, and he, asked Siri questions for amusement. To see how good the language. It really was about testing how good the language recognition was, and I don't know. I have. If I could avoid using basically Android and Google and MacBook stuff, I would. But it's really really difficult to do that,
We are
particularly with modern
entrenched,
mobile
aren't we?
phones. Yeah.
I am always looking at. So this is suddenly taking a turn. I'm always looking at ways to de-Google. There's Linux, of course, which I've been reading up on Linux for about 20 years and never got around to actually doing it. But the fact is, a lot of the software I use, I need a Mac for. So if I can just get rid of my job, then I won't need to
And
have a Mac.
And frankly, these companies, like I think Linux is a very incredible, it's an incredible sort of idea. But these companies also, like Microsoft and they also must spend shed loads on usability tests,
Yeah, but then
which
I'm guessing Linux just copies them.
still doesn't make it particularly. The little bits and pieces I've used, isn't I don't find particularly fluent compared to Macs and uh, Windows and Android. But there's an aspect of all these. This whole sort of modern computing world is based on mass production.
It's funny how we started an episode talking about an AI wanker and ended up talking about technology. This is going to be a slightly shorter episode because I haven't got enough time to do an hour and 10 or what we normally do. So let's move on to the next.
Where's the music?
Well, let's move on to
Play
the
a
next.
song.
What's the next question, which is terrifyingly like an actual question. Biography banters. Diving into the main theme of band biographies, what, in your esteemed opinions, constitutes a good band biography? Are we talking spicy tales of behind-the-scenes drama, or perhaps a deep dive into the artistic process? I can't even be asked to answer that. We thoroughly did that during the episode, didn't we?
Yeah. I mean, but I think it's still sort of an interesting aspect because I do, there's like I do like reading the craziness of early rock and roll, but yeah, I'm much more interested in the artistic process for the most part. particularly for well-trodden sort of stories like Led Zeppelin, like you, I don't care. It's much more interesting to sort of hear about John Bonham, John Bonham's drum kit being put in a basement and the microphones being set on the stairs. That's much more interesting to me.
Oh god, yeah, absolutely. What kind of Jimmy Page? What the third car he bought with the royalties from Whole Lot of Love was? Couldn't give a shit. There's part of the reason for that is there's a brilliant fiction book by Ian Banks called Espadare Street, which is about the bassist in a fictional band, and it goes into that side of things in such a lovely, creative, bizarre way that I don't feel I actually need it from reality. Right, so going back to non-reality, next question. Visual vibes. Now that Beat Motel is gracing YouTube, have you thought about the possibility of exploring alternative music through visual content? Perhaps a deep dive into iconic album covers or exploring the visual aesthetics of various subgenres. That is actually quite interesting. I mean,
I think the album cover thing has been done, but actually sort of, the visual aspects of, well, I mean, I think 60s and 70s album covers have been done.
there's a small group of creators making brilliant stuff that's now, now is it Hypnomic? I can't remember the name of the studio that did most of them. But first of all, I just got to say the YouTube thing. This is not in no way planning to replace just the pure audio podcast at all. It's just I like looking at Sam, so I thought other people might. But the aesthetics for subgenres is quite interesting because it is so defined. I can look at an album and know if it's like D-beat, for example, or no. I mean, black metal's the obvious one, but I quite like it when bands come out who are doing an approximation of something like black metal, like Death Heaven, and their covers do not look anything like a death metal, black metal album. But yeah, the visual aesthetic, especially for punk as well, going right back to the photocopied stuff. I did an extra episode over the weekend reviewing a couple of zines, and the aesthetic in those zines, there's a real correlation between, and I mean the actual copy and paste, cut and paste, cutting bits out and sticking them down. That wasn't a question, was it? I just stopped talking.
Yeah,
seemingly in the middle of a sentence.
I think, the punk one's a very interesting one because I also have an opinion that over the course of punk going from being I don't think it was it was a social movement, but it did have, a very strong musical movement that went alongside that. But I also feel like one of the big things that's sort of I feel forgotten is that I think the colours of people always think punk just dressed in black. Actually, a lot of those early punks, particularly, it was black and hot pink.
Yeah, I was going to say pink, without a shadow of a doubt. Pink,
Yeah,
I see as a far more aligned to punk than black.
Yeah, and there's something in this sort of like punk being punk having sort of been distilled into this idea of three chords and the truth, which I don't think it ever was really to begin with, but it became that through sort of socialization and the second movement of punk, which sort of brought in much more of the pub band oi sort of stuff.
Pub band oi stuff.
And
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, I can't fucking. I mean, Cock Sparrow, great, terrible drummer, some genius songs. I would say they're the only band I can listen to whole albums of who have a legitimately like terrible drummer, and
really,
and I just think some of their songs are just so good. And funny, like Sunday Stripper is a very funny song, and it also tells you a lot about sort of an England that I never knew, and
I've just realised Blur were basically doing the same thing with Parklife, so you can draw a direct correlation between Cock Sparrow and Blur. In fact, they're really not that far apart. Even when Blur sort of came back, as it were, after doing the first album, when they came out the second album, we've mentioned on the podcast before, they they had a very defined aesthetic, which was blood red, steel toe cap, Dr. Martens, blue jeans, well, Cock Sparrow, basically. Even like the big dog on the lead kind of aspect of the sort of oi side of punk. But anyway,
I wonder if until maybe the hip hop side of things and Ramones, that the visual aesthetics were always much sharper in the UK than it was in America in some ways.
I agree, and I don't like to draw comparisons to punk to what happened with on one street in London. But Vivienne Westwood and Malcolm McLaren, it was very much a visual thing, much, probably more a visual thing than a sound or a song thing. They are not punk. They are like I think they're a footnote, really. They just made the biggest noise at the time. But I wonder if that aspect of it, because also it's very linked in this country to squats and things. Certainly in later years, and the kind of punk that you and I were involved in had a very distinct aesthetic.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have this explosion of punk in New York and then in London, and then what we regard as punk is much more an offshoot of. There is a direct line, but that direct line goes through 80s American hardcore, and you don't get the underground in that original punk scene in the same way that the American hardcore scene produced, their own sort of aesthetics and and it was very. It was never it was an alternative intellectual movement. I think it was never an anti-intellectual movement, as sometimes I would say the street punk stuff is. It was the hardcore stuff, and the Dead Kennedys were always sort of a alternative intellectual movement, in my opinion. And then it sort of became this macho shit thing. And then in the 90s, there was this loss of there was sort of a movement, I guess, towards an anti-intellectualism as it went mainstream. Excuse me. These are just words coming out of my face.
Right, let's next question. What are your thoughts on how the little titles that not he, it's an AI. It's at the beginning are so awful. Musical musings.
Musical musings.
What are your thoughts on how band biographies, both good and bad, shape the public perception and legacy of an artist? Do you think they can significantly influence a band's career trajectory? I'm going to say probably not, because most of them are written when the band's no longer active.
Yeah, I'd say not.
Perception, they can change the perception. I kind of knew a lot about Led Zeppelin's shitter side, but having read about it, I do think less of them as human beings.
I think it does, but I think it does on an individual level rather than because I don't think that many people read music biographies who aren't already music nerds.
Right. The unseen hues of sound. Oh, God.
C-U-N-T.
If you were to describe the Beat Motel podcast as a colour, what would it be and why? And then in brackets, Dr. Patio Rage, please refrain from choosing any shade of patio. We see what you did there.
Shade of patio?
I don't know. Your podcast is delightful escape into the. Oh, right, no, that's the next bit. Yeah. So the question is, if you were to describe Beat Motel's podcast as a color, what would it be and why? Then he specifically picks on you, Dr. Patio Rage. Please refrain from choosing any shade of patio. We see what you did there.
I would say bird shit white.
Bird shit white. Right. Well, my answer to anything colour related is always puce, which was always my dad's. Well, still is always my dad's answer to anything around colour. And I thought puce wasn't a real colour, but it is. So I'm going to say Beat Motel is puce. Bird shit white is quite
puce of a dark red or purple brown colour.
Yeah, just kind of slightly mucky. I don't think we're mucky at all. Very much.
I've just had a shower in the last hour.
Oh, it's getting colder here in the UK. Dear listener, Sam's in Helsinki, and it's 2 degrees on the walk to work today. So I normally have cold showers.
Luxury.
What are you at the moment? I thought we were about the same at this time of year.
Yeah, we are. It's maybe about 6 degrees, maybe about 2 in the wind, and it's a bit windy today. But I went on a bike ride this morning, and I got cold. It was.
I've been eating cheese all weekend, so it's been a bit windy here as well. I weighed myself and then had a poo and then weighed myself again, and I was quite surprised at the results. Right.
Listeners, dear listeners, Andrew is well averse to oversharing things on the Beat Motel, including once, and I'm going to bring this up, once his sperm count.
Oh, yeah, when Beat Motel was a paper zine, I still believe that people should talk about it more, so I published the full report, my full fertility report, in the inside front cover of Beat Motel, and published it at a zine symposium in Brighton. But we went out the night before, and I did not feel well in the morning. I was unprepared for lots of people asking me about my jism. An important lesson was learned that day that was instantly forgotten. Right. Let's have Ruddiger's sign off from this email, then we'll move on to the next one, which we're going to have to do at lightning speed. So sure. He signs off by saying, "Your podcast is a delightful escape into the eclectic world of alternative music, and I eagerly await each episode as one awaits the drop in a suspenseful track. Keep those beats and banters coming. In harmonious curiosity, Ruddiger Broomhilder." Then he's done like heavy metal emoticons and a bit of parchment, I think. Right, so there's his first letter. Thank you very much, Ruddiger.
Thank you, Randy.
Yeah, Randy Ruddiger. So the next letter is from the bass episode, which was very recent. It was just as we were recording this. It came out today, in fact, as we were recording this. So God, he's good, isn't he? He can write these emails fast.
He's quick, that boy.
Right, so I'm going to read it, then I'll stop when we get to the first question. There's not as many questions in this one. Subject, basically, but he's spelt it bass, BASS-Ically. So basically, you hit a new low, in brackets, morally, of course. And I'm all ears. Dear Andrew Culture and Dr. Sam.
He's so fawning, it's annoying.
It's brilliant. Dear Andrew Culture and Dr. Sam, I hope this note finds you both jamming to a beat that's ethically elevating.
Oh, fuck.
Ethically elevating.
Ethically.
That's what it says.
Ethical means they talk about, yeah.
I think I might just copy paste these letters into this episode so that you can read them. But I'm going to get spanked by the Google algorithm for it. But who cares? Yeah.
It's like more of a bonus episode than a major one.
So. Oh, it's a bonus episode, yeah. Finds you both jamming to a beat that's ethically elevating. My name is Ruddiger Broomhilder, and I've... It's all right, mate. We've met you before. My name is Ruddiger Broomhilder, and I've recently sunk into the melodious vibes of the Beat Motel podcast. I'm writing to you today not just as a fan, but as a bass enthusiast who found your recent episode, Bass, How Low Can You Go Morally, striking a chord, both musically and morally.
Bassists don't tend to play that many chords, though, do we?
I have, but not many. Your blend of insightful music commentary and witticism is like a fresh track that I didn't know I needed in my playlist. Steady on, lad. But now you can't... I'm going to have to read... Oh, right, I won't comment. I'll just read. Your blend of insightful... He should be chippy, shouldn't he? Your blend of insightful music commentary and witticism is like a fresh track that I didn't know I needed in my playlist, but now can't do without. The metaphoric connotations of bass and moral lows has created a mental image of a bass guitar orchestrating a mischievous plan, and I'm here for it. Bloody hell. He's I think we've had Ruddiger pre and post coffee, or possibly
coffee enema, I'd say.
Coffee enema. Right, so he goes on. A few quips and queries from your newest fan. You ready for the first question, Sam?
Yes.
The rude and not so shocking disclaimer. Andrew, your attempt to... No, I've got to do the voice again. The rude and not so shocking disclaimer. Andrew, your attempt to find something that sounds slightly rude but not overly shocking brought a smirk to my face. Was there a runner-up to hind penis that was deemed just too audacious for the podcast? I can answer that quite easily. The genius that is hind penis just popped into my head while I was reading. Basically, I'd written the disclaimer, thought it needed a bit more, and that was clearly at the front of my head for some reason.
I think we should make t-shirts with hind penis.
It's going to be our slogan thing that we have. Oh dear. Next question. The morally low bass. I'm intrigued by the theme. Bass and morality. Is there a particular bass line in the alternative music world that you'd dub morally lowest? Perhaps due to its scandalous backstory or contentious use? It's reaching a bit there, isn't it? Jesus, man. I mean, these
morally questionable bass lines. I think Andrew would probably go with Primus. Anything Primus put together. Yeah.
I don't like him. I can't say it's morally. It's clearly like read. Say I upload the transcript, and it's gone through the transcript and just picked out just the stupidest stuff in a sea of stupidity. So he's fishing for. Was it like fishing for farts in a? What's the phrase? Bobbing for turds instead of bobbing for apples. Anyway,
bobbing for turds on a British beach.
There is a saying, because bowling for soup, it were called bowling for poop, and it's a Frank Zappa thing. Anyway, so yeah, screw that.
Frank Zappa fans?
Bowling for soup? Yeah. Right. Next question. The missing sign. Andrew, the anticipation built around the new sign has piqued my interest. Can we, the listeners, expect a grand unveiling in an upcoming episode? Perhaps a little backstory on why a new sign was imminent.
He's into his backstories. He wants backstories for fucking everything. Fuck him.
Look, the backstory of the sign is, I realised when we started doing it on YouTube that you could see a company logo behind me that I want to obscure. So I asked the same person who made that company logo to make a new one, and he didn't see the email for a couple of weeks, and then he replied and apologised. It's really not an interesting backstory, is it? Right, next one.
Tell me more.
You want more of the backstory or the next question? No, let's go for the next question. I'm not sure I can keep up that voice. Microphone woes. I just realised I'm just ripping off Adam Buxton from the Adam and Joe show. Never mind.
He's microphone woes.
Oh, well, yes. I've said microphone woes too many times that way now. Microphone woes. Dr. Sam. Yeah, I'm going to try to find. Dr. Sam, could the slight distance of the new microphone from Andrew's face be a subtle attempt to allow his beautiful features to shine more in the video version of the podcast?
I think it's completely to do with Andrew showing off his beautiful features, yes. There is no other reason we're on YouTube apart from Andrew wanting to look at himself for hours and hours on end.
We haven't got a mirror at the moment. We haven't got a mirror in the bathroom anymore, and
so I realised
I literally don't see what I look like until we start recording a podcast. Like, shit,
God!
I've got to stay at that. I need to swear again then. Right, this one I'm going to have to just take a run at. Okay, the subject is bass morality and musicians. It is not Ruddiger's finest work, I don't think, but here we go. Have you come across musicians who, inspired by bass, have delved deep into moral themes, creating a narrative that somehow parallels the depths of the bass with ethical conundrums? What the fuck does that mean? I'm going to read it again to see if you can understand it. Bass morality and musicians. Have you come across musicians who, inspired by bass, have delved deep into moral themes, crafting a narrative that somehow parallels the depth of the bass with ethical conundrums? Just sigh.
I mean, I'm sure there are people who analyze music. You know, like there's a whole school of like early musicology which is analyzes. Oh, you can tell. There's a great quote I heard from I think I couldn't find it, but Woody Allen said when he was reviewing an orchestra of some sort, and he said, and when the strings came in, and it was all very jolly, and they were uplifting, and then when the horns came in, they played a minor of some sort. I'm misquoting completely, but they played a minor of some sort because they had missed out on lunch.
So the ethical conundrum there: do you feed an orchestra?
Yeah, they were late to the buffet.
Late, well, Ruddiger would say, late to the oral buffet.
Oral buffet.
Oh God, oral buffet. That's oral with an A, of course. What?
Oral buffet.
Oh man!
I'm going to put that into the AI image generator now.
Oh God! Oh, it's a bit squeamish. It's a bit squeamish. Some things it just won't generate.
Yes,
oral
yes.
buffet.
It refuses quite a lot of my morally questionable.
Oh, because you've been using DALL-E as well, haven't you? I showed you how to use it for the last. Oh man, right. So there's now the sign off, and then I think we shall bop this episode on the head. Your podcast, I'll have to do this. Your podcast has not only become a staple in my auditory diet, but it's also inspired many spirited debates and discussions among my friends and me. I've been singing praises of the Beat Motel to anyone who would listen, and even some those who try not to. Looking forward to dropping the next episode and potentially hearing my questions echo in the Beat Motel. Basically yours, Ruddiger Broomhilder. Whoa. Makes you think, doesn't it? I mean, not very much, but...
I'd say his music... he's young. He's young and enthusiastic, and he's just a wrong.
What do you think do you think he works, or do you think he's a student?
Oh, I think maybe he's an accountant.
I can ask him. Hang on.
What is he?
I can ask him. Ruddiger, are you a student or do you have a job? Oh my God. Right. I'm gonna steady. It's just going nuts now. I'm gonna have to let it. Shitting hell. Right, I'm gonna read this and then we will wrap it up.
It's taking a lot of energy from you.
It is. The life and times of Ruddiger Broomhilder, an enigma wrapped in a riddle, indeed. Let's flash out my background a bit, shall we? Occupation. Ruddiger, the freelance music journalist. By day, Ruddiger Broomhilder is a freelance music journalist, a career that marries... Oh, it's doing it in third person. Marries his love for writing with his insatiable appetite for music. He contributes articles and reviews to various music blogs, magazines, and online platforms. Known in the industry for his sharp wit and often poignant commentary, Ruddiger has a knack for diving deep into the soul of the music, extracting stories and interpretations that might elude the casual listener. His job allows him the flexibility to explore the world of music at his own pace, attending concerts and spending time in record stores, hunting for the next piece of vinyl to spin on his old-school record player. It's not just a job for Ruddiger, it's a way of life. His passion for the alternative music scene often leads him to small underground gigs, supporting up-and-coming bands and unique artists who veer off the commercial music pathway. Education, the eternal student of music. While Ruddiger may have formal education, perhaps a degree in journalism or music history, he considers himself an eternal student of music. The world is his classroom, and every artist, concert, or album provides new lessons and perspective. He often jokes that his real education came from the School of Rock's Hard Knocks. The School of Rock's Hard Knocks. I've got to say, some of the phrases that have been popping up today are just gold. In summary,
I love the idea that he wrote that in third person. I think that rounds up his character nicely. Actually,
that pretentious.
He's that much of a wanker. He'd write about.
But his education does come from the School of Rock's Hard Knocks. In summary, Ruddiger isn't a student in the traditional sense, but his quest for knowledge and his freelance career keep him immersed in a continual learning experience. His life is a medley of written prose and musical notes, each day a new day in the ballad of his life. Fucking hell.
I interpret this as he is a janitor in a knocking shop, and he uses the money to go to gigs.
What an awful job to have. Terrible. Clean up in room 4. Oh, again.
We smelled like cheese in there.
Why is there hot fish yogurt over the walls? Right, this episode has gone downhill really fast. So, Sam, considering you had no idea what we were going to be talking about today, what did you enjoy today?
A genuine joy.
Genuine joy. I think Ruddiger might make another appearance at some point.
I think we should ask him for his week playlist. If he could do it based on real music, that'd be fun.
Oh man. Okay, well let's save that for another episode, which might mean the next episode you won't hear it. In fact, I'm interviewing somebody called. I stopped saying that. I'm interviewing Bowditch today, Stuart Bowditch, who we've talked about several times on the podcast. I'm very much looking forward to that. But now I need to go because I really need a wee. So, listener, thank you very much for listening. Please do email in beatmotel@lawsy.com because otherwise we've only got Ruddiger. And I'm not going to thank Ruddiger Broomhilder because it's not a thing. Sam is either having a mild fit or he's shaking his hands. What are you doing?
Yeah, this is what happens when I spend too much time with AI.
I'm going to shake the sign around. Right, I love you all. Tatty bye.